Reactor online. Sensors online. Weapons online.
No
All
idea
systems
functionally what I'm doing.
Months until I'm customizing my pussy lips. I'm very excited.
For fucking the giggles.
Yo, you ain't getting any candy for it, bitch.
I have 1 round left. Just enough for myself.
What up, fuck faces?
Better, good. Welcome to the Camel Cast. It is
Wrong type of energy.
It is
Wrong type
June.
of energy?
It's absolutely the right type of energy. I'm playing Valorant right now, listener. I need to finish this game.
That's okay. We're just gonna be talking about
Valorant.
weeks.
Also, can I make an announcement on this podcast real quick?
Sure.
About this podcast real fast? All right, would you like a nice announcement? Are you guys excited?
I'm actually excited, yes.
Yeah, it
Here
sounds
comes my
exciting.
announcement. I'm not drunk this week. That's my announcement.
Hey!
Are
put
you
the fucking
getting drunk?
fingers.
It's really quite a shame. No, I wish I was.
I recently
But
looked
I'm
at our
not.
video numbers, and the episode when I was very, very fucking drunk has like the second most views to our first episode. So maybe we need to get drunk. Maybe that's the direction we need to go.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe that's
We'll
our
have-
market.
Drunk
We just don't-
podcast is our new, we're no longer the Camel Cast. We're just a drunk podcast.
Yeah, we'll start this podcast of drunk people. We'll call it the Drunk Tank, and then we'll get very successful because of machinima.
And we'll slowly just destroy our bodies.
That's a highbrow Rooster Teeth joke. Okay. Let's roll into weeks, I guess. I'll start with mine. Brandon will go last for convenience.
no, I'm about to be done. I'm on my last round.
Okay, well, so
Go ahead. Trust me, I'm very capable of doing the podcast whilst finishing this.
I believe you. So my
play
week was
games
very
with the
simple.
podcast
I
all the
actually didn't play a single video game this week, which makes me
What a fucking nerd.
a hack
Not
frog.
playing video.
Frog?
A hack frog.
Shit. Shit. Oh, fuck my terrible speech patterns. Anyway, I'm a hack
Shame.
frog. I'm gonna have to change my avatar now. Jesus Christ, everything is wrong.
I'm
Anyway.
a hack frog.
Shut up. Anyway,
Help me, I'm a hack
you
frog.
can't make fun of me. I'm making fun of myself.
That's not true at all. We can still make fun of you.
Okay, true. So I did do a couple of things this week though. First things first, let's get media that we're actually known for on this channel is I watched a movie. It's a movie on Amazon called The Vast Dark.
Oh, I wanted to watch that. The Vast of Night. Is what
Yes,
it's called.
thank you, Vast of Night. It's cool that you know what it is. It is a like 1950s kind of suspense mystery type thing. It's about aliens and stuff. And I won't get into details of anything. Suffice it to say, it was alright to good. It was like above average tier. My only real complaints is there's an establishing the first act is kind of like you establish your characters in a medium. It doesn't matter if it's games, books, movies, whatever. You have a scene. This is this character. This is what they do. This movie, that section goes on way too goddamn long. Like way too. Like it's kind of. I started to check out because it was like kind of boring. Where it's like within the first couple of minutes, it's like okay, I got these characters, I got it locked in, and then it just keeps going and keeps going and keeps going. And then the intrigue kicks in and then it becomes interesting. And then the payoff isn't great. It's neat enough, but it isn't great. And that's why it's just like it's above average. Cinematography is good, acting is impeccable, the costume design is 10 out of 10. Like they really nailed the feel of that era. Not that I have lived in that era, but you know.
But he knows, ladies and gentlemen.
So I recommend it if you got it's like an hour and a half long, so it's not even that long for a movie. And it's worth a watch, I would say.
I'll watch it. I'll most likely watch it in this coming week. Maybe I'll talk about it next week.
There you go. So, besides that, I read a manga, start to finish.
A manga?
The manga I read is called Fire Punch, and it was a trip. Boy howdy, does Japan make some weird fucking shit. Holy Christ. Here, let me just post a picture of it in Discord so you can get a feel. And I'll put it, of course, in the podcast, but that's what I got to read.
Oh.
And the premise is your main character is Wolverine without the metal bits. So he's super heel man, and he gets set on fire with a fire that'll never go out. And it kind of drives him insane, and then he starts murdering people like nuts. And then it gets really existential and philosophical out of nowhere. And then there's like literally 3 chapters of just dick jokes, and then it gets back into it. It's crazy. Yeah, it is a unique experience, let me say. I recommend it. There's like 80-something chapters. You can find it online. The ending is confusing, but it's not that confusing. It's a lot of people say that they don't get it at all. I got it fine because I'm so fucking smart. God damn it. But yeah, it's worth a look. And that was my week. As I read a book, I watched a movie, and
0 video games, hack frog.
I get. Thank you for bringing that back. I had forgotten my embarrassment. Now it's here again.
You're welcome. I'll never live it. You'll never live it.
I mean, I watched a lot of YouTube shit too, but that's like not important. But anyway,
that's not important.
Not at all.
You hear that, YouTubers? You're not important.
Including us.
Yo, if someone's recapping their week and they mention that, I listened to the Camel cast, it's like, you're an uninteresting person, and that's fine. Not everyone can be interesting. I don't know. I watched old Bro Team videos and Tigref and something else. There's something else I watched. Like, none of it is like a series thing, you know? It's why I mentioned Marble Hornets, because it's like actual media as opposed to just, you know, Oni plays is doing worms and it makes me lol.
You know what I watched a lot of on YouTube recently?
Mm-hmm.
For some strange
week?
fucking reason. I mean, it could be if we want to go into it. I was just gonna because we're on the topic of YouTube. All right, cool. It can be my week if we want it to be, but I'm just making a small conversation here. I've been subscribed to like Red Letter Media for fucking ever, and I never really sometimes I watch some shit that they post. I don't remember why I initially subscribed to them, but I went back and I was watching all their Star Trek review stuff.
Yeah.
And like their Star Trek Picard reviews and shit like that.
I watched that today too. Holy shit.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I watched it back when they uploaded it, I think like a week ago maybe or something. But or the Mr. Plinkett review I watched, and then I went back and I watched like the old reviews, and now a part of me kind of wants to go watch Star Trek. I sort of want to, but I'm in this weird place where I'm like, A, there's a metric fuck ton of it, so that's gonna be kind of rough, and B, I don't know where I should start and what I really need to see. Like, do I gotta watch the original? Like, is the original series with the Shatman worth me going back, or should I just start on Picard?
I mean, okay, so I've watched
Which is TNG, right? Isn't that the Picard series?
Yeah, that's the Next Generation.
Yeah.
That's where I got introduced to it. So it's probably partially because of nostalgia. It's like one of my favorites. But I did watch almost every single other one. I didn't watch Deep Space Nine, which I hear is very good, but I don't know. I never made it a thing to watch it. And it's also ironic because I watched trash like Voyager. So yeah,
Voyager. I remember. I've heard people. Isn't Voyager Janeway?
Correct.
And all that shit. I thought that was supposed to be good. I thought people said that was good. I remember listening to the Best Friends talk about like all the crazy bullshit that Janeway does when they would just like ramble about that randomly in some of their fucking videos.
Yeah, I guess, you know, as a time capsule, it's probably improved. Just because there's a lot of like neat things that happen in it. It produced a really good video game, Star Trek Elite Force. That game was fucking dope.
Yeah, I've always heard people say that's good, but I never played it.
And but yeah, it's a lot strangely more like militarized and like weirdly actiony, where like the other ones it's more, you know, philosophical and whatnot. So it's different strokes for different folks. I liked Enterprise, which was the prequel one. I didn't see Discovery and I didn't see Picard, and that seems to be good things. Um, Enterprise is slow and drag, so yeah, I would just say like, because there's what I would say mostly is don't be afraid to skip. There's very few episodes. This was in TV, didn't do long arcs, so like if you're in an episode and it's not part 1 of 2 and you don't like it, just fucking skip it. Just go to the next episode.
Well, it's not. I probably won't do that because I have to watch it in order. It's just I know myself. I've got to watch. If I'm gonna dedicate to watching it, I'm gonna watch all of it. You know, I just don't know if I need to go back and watch like the ancient shit,
You should
like
definitely
the
see
Shatman.
like a couple of those, just because again it is philosophical and there's something about, again, it's like each one is a very different beast, and that just because Shatner can't act and how outrageously like bare bones like the set design is and like what they're just trying to do to make it work, it makes it interesting, and it's very corny now. Back then it was mind-blowing, but like that's definitely
Wait,
enjoyable. I've seen endless.
I've seen endless clips from that first series of like Shatner punching aliens and shit, and how doofy it looks, like half the time. But I don't know. I just wasn't sure if I absolutely had to watch that, or if it was
Nah.
even worth me going back and watching that, or if I should just like start on TNG. But anyway,
You know what?
that's something I've
Start
been
with
thinking.
watching Wrath of Khan.
Was that the movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's
I don't know
like
if that's on
5.
Netflix or not. I know all the series are on Netflix.
Almost all of the Star Trek movies are like kind of good. Well,
I hear
okay,
people bitch
never
about all the
mind.
Picard ones, like Nemesis or whatever, and something else. I know. I remember hearing what's his face from fucking Red Letter Media say the movies were trash.
I don't
But
know. Cause it's okay, so like it gets really stupid with like the Shatner ones, because like one of them is they go to the past to save the whales. Like it's like some weird fucking shit happens in the movies.
I'm sorry, what?
But Wrath of Khan is just good, and then I didn't mind Nemesis too much. I might be mixing up Nemesis. No, I think that is Nemesis, where they go in the past. I don't know. I've seen
save the
all
whales?
of this. No, different past.
Different
There's a lot of
whales.
fucking time travel in Star Trek. But yeah, dude. Again, majority of this I ingested when I was like a fucking kid. So, and then like clips on YouTube and stuff.
All right. Well,
So,
regardless, maybe I'm gonna watch Star
I would say
Trek
yeah.
3 on that.
Start with Enterprise, and then if that interests you, check out the other ones.
If I do watch it, I don't even know if it's gonna be anytime soon. But I'm thinking about it because I watched all that Red Letter Media shit. The only other things I did of note with my week is play a lot of DotA. Still on that grind. It's been
1 week since you.
I kind of hate it, you know, because it's like it destroyed all sense of like productivity coming out of me. Because like right before the Battle Pass dropped, I think I mentioned on the podcast, because I know we missed a week, but I think I mentioned on the podcast before the Battle Pass came out that I was working on some shit, and I was kind of excited about it, and I'm still pretty like close to being done with it. And then the Battle Pass came out, and I've barely done anything in like the last 2 weeks, because every night I'm just like playing fucking DotA, you know, as opposed to doing anything good with my life. So that's a thing. And then the only other thing I did is I've been playing Valorant, because Valorant has officially launched So I got a closed beta key, as I mentioned on this podcast previously. Never turned the game on. Game officially comes out. Now I've turned it on, and I'm playing it, and it's fun. I'm actually enjoying it quite a bit. There are nights where I get on my computer and I'm like, I got to do my Dota dailies, and I enjoy playing Dota. It's not like I hate playing Dota, but I'm like, I got to do my daily shit in Dota because
You both enjoy and hate playing Dota.
yeah, I both want to play it and also want to kill myself sometimes when I'm playing it. Like I just finish a match and I turn my head to the right and I see my window and it's inviting and I know that that's a fall that will fuck me up. I don't know if I'll die, but it will definitely shatter some bones and I'll think to myself maybe I shouldn't play Dota again,
What a
because
wonderful
then I
world.
won't take a tip out my fucking window. But the other half of the time I am enjoying it playing Dota. I mean, but there's been nights where I'm like, fuck, I got to do my Dota dailies and shit. But in the back of my head, I'm like, I kind of just want to play Valorant because I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it a lot. It gives me those like old school Counter-Strike vibes I used to get from when I was playing like a lot of CS:GO with like BB and Matt and Sean and shit. And I kind of miss those days because like spamming CS:GO ranked every night the way I played Dota nowadays was kind of fun. And I don't know, like Valorant's obviously a CS:GO ripoff, so it feels it's fun. It's fun to play, and it kind of gives me that nostalgia. The hero shooter aspects to it are actually kind of nice. I know, like on this podcast before I was ever hands-on with
worried
the game,
about it.
I was worried about it, and I did some complaining about like raise and shit like that. And I still think some aspects of it are a little bit jank, but for the most part, it's nice. Like I think it's well implemented. It's got kind of I don't know. It puts a nice little layer of gameplay in there that like something like CS:GO does not have. Where like on one hand it kind of just replaces nades from CS:GO with like some of the utility that the heroes in this game have. It's basically just smokes and flashes like one for one. And then you have like the crazier shit like Jet being able to dash and like Reyna being able to heal off someone's corpse or like Breach being able to shoot shockwaves through a wall. And like that stuff is very not CS:GO, but it also doesn't feel busted. It just feels like if I had to rate it, it sits somewhere between like Overwatch at the top end of the fucking spectrum of like abilities are fucking huge and like team fights can be decided based on like how well people use their ults and shit like that. And then the bottom end of the spectrum, which is something like Apex, where like abilities matter, but for the most part, it's like, did I shoot the guy good? I feel like this game sits somewhere in the middle, where like it doesn't feel like I'm dumpstering an engagement with a guy that otherwise would just come down to me shooting better than him in something like CS:GO. It doesn't feel like that, but the abilities are neat and they do influence stuff. Like when you're playing Jet and you have a dash that's like, oh, I can peek this angle, I can kill one guy, and then when I would trade out because the other guy would kill me because there's two people that I just peeked, I can just dash back and live. And it's like little things like that, where it's not like apocalyptic game altering shit, but it puts a nice little layer in there that I like, that kind of like differentiates it from the game that it's very clearly ripping off. My only complaints with Valorant, if I have to complain about anything, is that I think the maps could be a little bit better designed, in my opinion. For the most part, they're just chokes and angles. Like I can't explain it any better than just like there's like boxes and shit in certain places, and like hallways are designed with these like weird corner angles and like nooks and shit. And it's so obvious that it was just like some guy drew it out and he was like, well, if someone's standing here, then you get this angle that you can peek from and you can't see this angle. And it's like it's all designed with just like angles and peaks in mind. You know what I mean? Whereas like CS:GO's maps are a little more well thought out and feel a little more natural. You know what I mean? Where it's like the angles and shit just feel a little more creative, and like the ways in which you can hold a point and like the places you can like boost to and shit like that. It's all, I just feel like maps in Valorant are like the Fisher Price knockoff version of some maps in CS:GO, to be completely honest. They just don't feel like as well designed. They're not as creative, they're not quite as interesting. But everything else about the game is great, and I'm enjoying it immensely. I'm not playing the game and thinking to myself, like, why am I not just playing CS:GO right now? I'm playing the game and I'm like legitimately enjoying it. I do just wish the maps were maybe a little bit bigger and a little more interesting in their design, but for the most part, the game is sick. I give it 2 thumbs up. I give it the Camel stamp of approval.
The almighty Camel stamp of approval.
And that was basically my week. Also, my Game of Thrones rewatch has been stalled.
Dota. What can you do?
Because no, not because of Dota. Because when I opened it up, so I'm watching it. I don't know if I ever said this on this podcast before, but we're watching it via Blu-rays. Because I got the set of Blu-rays.
Nice.
Open up the season 7 Blu-ray thing, and it's very fancy, right? Like it's got these like panels that the Blu-rays sit in, the discs and shit, and the panels you slide them out, right? It's like a standee kind of thing.
Okay.
And when they're all in, like you can kind of see all the art together, but when you pull them out individually, there's like art on the panel that's like indicative of the season and what goes on in the season. So I pull out the season 7 one and I look at it and I'm like, disc 1's missing. And I start looking around in there. I'm shoving my hand in the fucking thing in between the panels to try to find it. It's just completely missing. They shipped me the fucking box set with no disc 1 for season 7.
Wow, that you missed that one.
So that fucking blows. So now I have to wait. So then I message Amazon. Here's what's up. Amazon customer support is trash. When you go to find it, they don't have a number and they don't have an email. The only thing you can do is chat, like text chat with a customer support agent, which is fine, I guess, but it's like, why no email and why no number? So I get in chat. I have to wait. First, I have to talk to a bot and I have to explain my issue. Then I get into a chat with the guy, and he's like, and they're like, I'm not gonna bore you or anyone else that's listening with the fucking details, but I get through the whole conversation with the guy, and by the end of it, he's like, we can't send you the disc because we're not allowed to go into the box set and pull the disc out. Instead, what I can do is I can ship you a whole box set, the same thing, and you're gonna open it and pull the disc out and then ship the rest of it back. I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, that's all we can do. We cannot go in and pull the disc out. You have to take it out and then ship the rest of it back to us. It's the only option.
Make
and
sure to let him know that the new set you have is also missing like the first and second and third for some fucking strange reason.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. I need a whole nother one. It's insane. Yeah, so that was kind of shocking and annoying. And that's pretty much my week. I can't fucking rewatch Game of Thrones. I didn't watch anything else interesting. I just played Dota and Valorant. And Amazon customer support sucks my ass. And for some reason, they can't ship you single fucking Blu-ray disc.
To kind of go bounce off your Valorant tangent, I am also a big fan of the game. One of my big problems, air quotes, with it is this thing I have with most games I play that are multiplayer like that and just rely on teams. Some people just fucking anger the hell out of me.
Please elaborate. In what way? Is it the thing I actually forgot to touch on with the fact that like people go AFK constantly and then disconnect? Or is it something?
Yes, basically.
Yeah, that's a big fucking problem with the game.
Like I can take someone just being bad at a game. Like it still gets me upset and mad, and I'll yell at my screen and be like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're looking at a box while someone shoots you right in the fucking head." But what I won't take is someone just asking for a gun like the first round, not getting it, and then AFKing, or just legit just walking into a game and then leaving.
Oh, you've experienced that. Well, I haven't experienced like, honestly, I haven't experienced massive like outright toxicity yet.
I have not experienced that one, where someone legitimately was like, I need this gun, didn't get the gun, next round,
and then they just leave. That's fucking hilarious. I'm not shocked.
I'm like, nah, the fuck, mate? You didn't get a gun?
Shocked. I'm not shocked, especially because the game is free to play. Like, you're gonna get that flood of dipshits that treat it like that.
And it's League players coming to play this game.
That's
Enough
true.
said.
Man, I would love to
forward
see
to that fighting game now.
Listen, I'm not against alienating the League community from our podcast. They're all terrible.
You're terrible.
They
You're
can't be.
terrible.
Listen, they can't be as bad as the Smite community.
No, they're not as bad as the Smite
Are they as
community.
bad as the
But that's a
Smite
very low bar we're setting.
The Smite community is literally a dumpster fire. Like the average person sitting at their computer is just a dumpster that's on fire, sitting in a chair with two hands on their fucking mouse and keyboard. Smite is a clusterfuck. But yes, I have not experienced outright toxicity in Valorant. So if you've experienced that, that's unfortunate. I have experienced playing with both of you, meaning Richie and Rob, a lot of people just like going AFK for some reason and abandoning constantly. I'm starting to get to the point where I actually think it's crashes, because I noticed someone in a game I was playing today abandoned randomly. Like they went AFK and abandoned, but mid-round. Like they were just walking and then they just stopped and just abandoned. So I don't think it's always people just joining and then like leaving because they're losing or some shit. I think sometimes it's just the game's unstable and is crashing for people.
I can believe that to a point.
Assume maybe it's like Vanguard issues, because I've seen people have issues with Vanguard saying like Vanguard's not initialized, suck my ass, and then it like crashes their game or refuses to boot. So I don't know. I think some of it's crashing and some of it's people being assholes.
I lean that there's more assholes than it is problems, but I could definitely see there being problems. As much as I think Riot makes some good stuff, they definitely don't make a good client sometimes. I like their games. League, like it. Regardless of some of our other fellow Camels' opinions. Tales of Legends of Runeterra, enjoy it. It's a good card game. Valorant, like it. But the clients on those games, not always the best. Otherwise, I played freaking Diet Diablo, Minecraft Dungeons some more. I played it with a buddy of mine who just picked it up, so we've been running through dungeons together. Trying to find some of this weird or unique loot that they've been putting into the game. We found the cow level.
There's a cow level.
Yes.
Nice, sweet reference, bro.
And we've just been fucking around, and that was basically my week.
My week now. Best for last. My best for last. I mean, I did absolutely nothing that Brandon didn't already explain. A lot of
What about your
Dota.
opinions on it?
All right, a lot of Dota. Dota opinions didn't change. I hate myself.
Oh fuck! I forgot to talk about that. Can we
What?
talk about that during your
You
week?
forgot to talk about how Richie hates himself.
No,
Yes.
no. I talked about that. I talked about wanting to jump out my window. I hate
There you
myself
go.
as well. But what I did forget to talk about, we could talk about this now because you're bringing up Dota again, is the fact that they totally removed the side shop
Oh yeah, because it's
from the game completely.
Oh, you mean their battle chest thing? I mean their the battle chest.
Yeah.
game. The battle pass side shop thing that sucked ass.
It was the thing we talked about it briefly last week, that it's basically Underlords, but
Yeah,
with like a really shit reward system.
What about all the rewards? Where are they going?
Because I still have my stuff that I won.
Well, I don't
Well,
mean
yeah, you
that. I
keep
mean,
whatever-
like, yeah. How will you gain that stuff now since it's gone, or have they not even touched
You
it?
don't.
You don't.
This is something that people went kind of insane about on the Reddit
Wow.
the day or two that they did it, is that they removed it, but they basically didn't replace it with anything. Like they just took it out and gave everyone like Riley's battle blessings, which are essentially like a Wheel of Fortune-esque spin for loot. But that's trash because the loot that you get from that sucks. Like the items are trash and the sets are all like these 3-cent sets that nobody actually wants, with like with like a super rare shot at getting something actually good. And that's all they did.
Nice.
Literally just ripped it out because people went insane about it, and then didn't really give us anything else.
Played that. Again, yeah, no opinions changed. I grinded every night, and It's a love-hate relationship. Again, nothing's changed. Unfortunately, my window isn't as high up as Brandon's, so throwing myself at it definitely won't kill me.
Yeah,
So
but
instead,
you
I
have
have
a
to
sword in your
take.
room.
Yeah, but I'm decided to take that energy and try to prevent Brandon from killing himself every night. And it doesn't work because unfortunately we have a lot of papagas playing with us.
The next.
It
Thank
doesn't
God
work.
those-
Oh wait, are
thank
we
God those-
talking to fucking Ghost right now?
Thank God those papagas don't listen to this podcast. Never link this podcast in the cult chat, or else they'll know we're talking about them.
Listen, people have varying skill levels. It just sucks that we have to play with them sometimes.
Fair.
Listen, all I'm saying is, everyone has a bad game. Not everyone is always, even on their most comfortable heroes, you're not gonna fucking ace it every single time you play, right? But I have noticed some patterns with some people, and it's getting a little rough. And all I'm saying is, if I have to play Pudge a 7th time, which I have to, but if I play Pudge a 7th time and lose, I am going to jump out my window. There will be shattered glass in my eyes as I jump out head first. I'm not even going to open it. I'm going to keep it closed, head first through the window, eyes open, straight into the fucking gravel driveway, break all my bones. That's the hope and the plan. That's all I'm saying. So no pressure. If we lose one more Pudge game, that's
Listen,
gonna happen.
dude, I try every game. I feel like for 7 Pudge games, we've won like the lane 6 out of 7 times.
I would say it was about 5 because I can remember I can remember 2 games where it was kind of piss poor, but I would say there was like 4 or 5 of them where we did quite good in lane, and then just
only so
fights
much.
happened and we just
There's only so much I can do.
Only so much Pudge.
Besides that, Valorant, which I have a lot less to say on the game. I enjoy it. It's very fun.
Except the opt. He does not like the opt.
I
oh, that was
am
fun.
not used to a game with such a high level of lethality, like literally one-shot kills. So it gets frustrating when there's literally a gun in the game that it has to shoot you anywhere but the foot, and it will just kill you. So it takes like kind of no skill, and it frustrates me.
No, it does. Don't say that. Just to preface, for people who are listening to this podcast who aren't familiar, because we don't bring
buy
this
the
up
opt.
all. No, because we don't bring this up every podcast. So refresher for people who may be clicking on this for the first time. They don't know the backstory. Richie's not as much of a first-person shooter player as some of us are. So it was very interesting playing Valorant with Richie, who has no prior experience with Counter-Strike, and I've never experienced this before, but getting someone's very first reaction to the AWP was kind of awesome. Like the immediate injection of sodium. When I've been dealing with that shit since like God, before Source. Because I've got experience with Counter-Strike, right? Like everyone knows what the fucking AWP is. If you played Counter-Strike, you know what the AWP is. And just getting that that pure sodium mountain of like Richie turning corners and getting one shot by an AWP. And being like, this gun sucks. It was beautiful. That's all I'm saying.
And listen, I do enjoy the game and I like the game, but I just can't hold back the sodium levels when I get tapped in my leg and just die.
It's just the way the AWP is. You got to learn how to play around it. You got to learn how to play around it. It does take skill. The AWP takes skill because you have to land that shot, and if you don't land that first shot, you're gonna die.
Honestly, the game plays like fucking Call of Duty. The bullet goes straight. Just put the crosshairs on them.
Yes, it's hit scan. It works like that in Counter-Strike as well. But you know, if they miss that first shot, you're dead. They have to rack the fucking thing after the first shot, and if they miss, they're gonna die. And that's kind of the trade-off with the AWP. Also, when you're playing into an AWP, there's like little things you got to do. Like you can't be slow peeking corners, because if you shift walk around a corner into an AWP, you're dead instantly. He's gonna see you before you see him, and you're dead. That's like the easiest shot you're giving that guy ever. Or like crouch walking around a corner, you're just dead. So you have to like run out like a madman, line up your shot, hope he misses his first shot, and then fucking give it a nice shift walk and just fucking spray him down. or like tap him in the face or something. But it's the op, man. You just gotta live with it. And then something hilarious that I was saying is I really would love you to play CS:GO with me one day so that you can experience auto snipers. Because if you think ops are bad, you should. Ops are like the thing that everyone in the Counter-Strike community just kind of lives with, right? It's like an accepted thing about Counter-Strike because it's like it does take some modicum of skill, and like there is kind of like ways you can outplay it. Auto snipers, everyone hates it. You are immediately called all manner of horrendous names when you pull out the fucking auto sniper and start taking rounds off people.
Yeah, I would agree with your point with the abilities not being too crazy. There's some that are a little better than others, in my opinion.
I'm in love with Cypher.
Like, none of them seem too strong, but like Sage's Resurrect, that's game changing.
Yes.
I think Viper's ult is immensely good given the situation. Like, it literally stops people from playing the game.
Yes. I kind of agree with you. I think the rest of Viper's kit is a little okay, but her ult is the one thing that's very powerful in context of a round of Counter-Strike. It's very strong.
Like, I feel like those are the ones off the top of my head. I don't feel like any other one is like that insane.
I mean, I'll still say, like, I'll die on that hill of like Raze's ability to pull out a rocket launcher and just trade out with someone instantly for free is very strong in the context of Counter-Strike. Like, I think that's really good. Especially if
I haven't played against a lot of Razes, so maybe that's why I don't feel that way. Because I just don't see a lot of Raze players. I mean, maybe just because I haven't played it as much as you guys, because I'm stuck behind a deli counter. But
I've seen her a few times. I played with and against her a couple times today. I don't know. I think Raze's ult is good, especially if she can kill like more than one person with it when she uses it. It's a strong ult in the sense of like your complaints about like the op. It's a similar thing. She gets ult and she just shoots a rocket down a corridor, except it's like an op with a blast radius that isn't hit scan, and it can kill multiple people like that. It's pretty powerful.
And again, I'll agree with your take on the maps. Yeah, they're very cornery. They're very square.
Yes, that's a good way of putting it.
And I feel like maybe the direction they were going for was like Counter-Strike MOBA, because there's basically lanes. They're basically lanes.
Yes and no, because the Counter-Strike influence is clearly there. Counter-Strike maps are designed in a very similar way. I think I just mean like the way in which the maps are designed once you get into those lanes and into those chokes is it's just all angles, right? Like for the most part, it's just where people are going to be. There isn't a lot of like verticality to them. Like boosting isn't a thing, which in Counter-Strike is like one of your teammates crouches and then someone jumps on his back and then that guy crouching stands and then you can get people up into positions that they otherwise would not be able to get to. Like shit like that. That's really only like the only person who's capable of doing shit like that is like Jet. You know?
Omen.
And Omen. But like even those two heroes being able to do that, there's still not a lot of places on the map where they can even utilize that in the first place. You know what I mean? So like Jet's updraft winds up just being I can scale Sage walls, or I can get up onto these like weird little locations. Like I think it's like Haven has that weird block like right in the middle of B that you can get up on and like shit like that. But there's not a lot of like, I don't know. The maps just don't feel as creative. That's the best way I could put it. It's a lot of just like grounded angles. Like there's walls.
I still stand by the fact that it's like a fucking MOBA, because like there's point A, there's point B. There's literally kind of only one angle on getting there, maybe two, but you have to go through the other lane to get there. It seems very laney.
Anything else?
I'm
I
good.
took a lot of diarrhea poops this week. That's kind of
Nice.
fun, right? To talk about.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so then we good for news?
Into the news.
All right. So we were able to kind of ignore it last week because politics and we're not political. But now they've made it our business because the protests has been recognized and support essentially by our corporate overlords. And because of that, everything has been delayed a week. So there was the big PS5 reveal supposed to happen on the 4th. Not anymore. PC game show, which I mean is technically part of E3, which was already canceled, but they were gonna go on because they were always kind of like a weird onliner thing. That got delayed. Night City Wire got delayed. There's other things that I'm not aware of. Well, I was like aware of, like I skimmed through them, but I can't bring it up on top of my head. But suffice it to say, a lot of things postponed. A lot of other things have happened. Like I know there's been a couple of sales. I think what is that website? Robbie, you could help me. What's the website that you can buy Lancer from?
Oh, I don't remember off the top of my head.
Well, whatever. It's this like crazy bundle pack where it's like it's $5 and you get something like 700 games and some books and other weird shit. Like it's literally they basically took everything that was on this website. And I mean, some of it is free, so it's kind of misleading saying that you're getting this for $5 because it's like stuff that you could just get anyway. And there's a lot of it that's trash. There's a ton of trash in that. But there's also some useful things like Night in the Woods and stuff.
Link in the description
Text on screen right now.
or something like that.
I will say this, seeing as we're talking about it, and I want to pretext this with, of course, I support.
So it always gets a little, sweaty in here, and people are like,
I support completely Black Lives Matter and everything going on, and Rob can attest to this. Maybe I'm a little too like crazy in my support of it, but I don't understand how
Richie
that
woke up one
relates.
day, he ripped his pants off and he was like, "Shoot all the cops! Shoot them all!"
That's
and
what
he ran off
BB
into
does.
the woods with his gun. Yeah.
But I don't understand how delays. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I think it's a little silly that like the excuse they're giving for delaying their stuff is we're going to let other issues take center stage. It's like, are you comparing the struggle of African Americans in America to the PS5 reveal and that it will actually bring people's attention away from that? It just seems completely fucking stupid.
But I don't think that's what they're doing when they're like, "Oh, we're going to delay our shit." I think they just want to look good as a company.
Right,
like
yeah,
they don't
it's
want to like
free
Yeah, but to me, it's not looking good. Maybe that's just me.
Well, no,
but...
see, I'm right there with you because like I can see through the veneer of we're good people to soulless corporate America.
Yeah,
it's right there. It's been there this whole time. Like
hey, everyone listening to this podcast, remember that Sony and Microsoft and all these corporations, they don't give a fuck about you.
Okay, here's the biggest thing. Blizzard announced put a big thing. We support the protests and stuff. Where I'm pretty sure they sandbagged the hell out of the Hong Kong protests. So
oh hell yeah, they did.
It's very clear that they have your money in mind and nothing else.
Unfortunately, the company that like owns them is not based in it's unfortunately it happens to be based in China, right?
So here's another thing.
No tie to this.
Now, I just want to vent my hatred for what I suspect is happening. I don't actually know this. But Rockstar did a similar move, and they took down their servers for Grand Theft Auto Online and what's the cowboy one? Red Dead Redemption 2 for 2 hours in support of the protest. To me, it sounds like they did server maintenance and then tried to spin it into PR.
That's some cynical shit, bro.
I won't agree with them, that's probably what happened.
That's some cynical shit.
I don't trust it. It just makes me feel.
Oh
makes me
God!
salty.
I'm not ready. I'm not ready to No, I'm not ready to put that tinfoil hat on. I do think that but I think what's
Wow.
more likely is someone at Rockstar went, we can
Right.
we can bring
I
the
will
servers down
totally
for 2
admit
hours.
that I base this on nothing, but it just. Ooh.
If someone at Rockstar went, we can bring the servers down for 2 hours. It's not going to be a massive like cut into our fucking revenue. We don't allow people to buy microtransactions for 2 hours out of the day, and we can just slap a big BLM support on it, and people will like us, and it'll make us look good. Like
It will
that's
make us
all
money probably. Because people will like us.
Right. Yeah, that's the end game. It's always the bottom line.
I think on one hand, like I'm not the kind of I guess like my opinion on it is that I'm not like I'm not of the opinion that it's like a Sony's head so far up their ass that they think the PlayStation announcement's gonna like take attention away from the protests. I don't think that's what it is. I do think what it is that these companies are using it to look good.
Oh
I
yeah.
think that's what they're doing. Maybe that's my cynical nature, is that I just think someone at the office of Sony and all these companies are just like, we can kind of save face and make people view us in a positive light if we just go, we support this fucking thing, and we're not going to show you the PlayStation for another week and a half.
This camel thinks they look fucking stupid.
I don't think they're wrong. I think on one hand it's good of them to be like, hey, let's not show the PlayStation right now, and
I mean, they're
guys,
stupid
go
to spend
look
the
at these.
money anyway.
Here's what I'm saying. I think it's cool that they're like, let's not show off the PlayStation. Hey, everyone, go pay attention to these protests. This is more important than the PlayStation. But I'm also not an idiot, and I realize that they're just doing it to look good. They don't actually give a fuck. No one at Sony gives a fuck about these protests.
I don't know. It's based in California. There's
Let me
probably a couple.
rephrase that. It's not that they don't give a fuck, because I don't think they're all evil. Like, they obviously care, and everyone should care about what's going on right now. I just realized that corporations are corporations because I'm not an idiot.
Right.
Yeah.
They wouldn't
That's all I'm saying.
If they thought that this would hurt their bottom line, they wouldn't be doing it.
Yes.
They think this helps the bottom line. And again, I'm sure, corporations are made up of people. So I'm sure that there's plenty of people that are saying, hey, we could do this or we could do that, especially once one does it, then another can do it, etc., etc. Because market analysis. But yeah, so it's whatever. And then, yeah, some people are going to look at that and they're going to be like, thank you, consumer overlords. Now I'm tasting a different leather than the one on the police foot. Now I'm tasting a corporate boot.
Again,
At least this corporate boot won't.
I'm very cynical in this aspect, because it's like, in the past, how many years have there been like unjustified police killings, and now you're taking a stand?
Well, they're taking a stand now because a lot of other people.
It makes them look good, and it's soulless to me, and I don't know, I don't like it.
Right, yeah, and then that's the other way to take it. Is it bounces off, and it's just like.
Can we put it like this though? This is a chain reaction kind of thing as well.
Yes.
So, because the first company that comes out, and I don't remember who the very first one was to be like, oh, we're not going to show this or talk about this because Black Lives Matter. I don't know who started it, but do you think for a second that if Sony, let's just say in a hypothetical universe, Sony was the first one to do it. If Sony comes out and does it, do you think other companies are just going to be like, yeah, fuck that shit. Here's the Xbox. Like, fuck no. They're like, oh, Sony's being like, pay attention to the protests. We're not showing you the PlayStation. And then someone calls up. Of course they're not.
Like, here's the thing.
Show the Xbox. Push it back a week.
They would have. I bet you they would have if they got like a lot of shit for doing that. But they didn't. It trended positively.
Right.
So then everyone
which is
was
why
like,
every other company is going to do it.
Jump on it, do it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's the other thing about it. Is like, yes, is it kind of soulless and fucked up because we all know that these companies are just companies and they're out to get your money and shit? Like, maybe. But the first one to do it, everyone else is going to do it. Like, no one else is going to put that hat on of like, look, we're racist. We don't give a fuck about the protests. Look at that.
The only one that I'm aware of that hasn't done it yet, and this isn't a celebration nor a condemnation, is Valve. But today they did release like a bundle kind of like supporting it. I don't know if it's the creators are black or they feature black characters, but it's kind of like in that vein where it's like black voices in the gaming community. But there is a thing, and even Robbie just linked it to us, is Friends of Journalism, Journalist 2, whatever, some Twitter account. I don't know if it's important or not, but Epic has come out for it. Valve did postpone their summer festival, not the sale, the summer festival. But they haven't released that, like, the reason for it is whatever this is. So this Twitter profile is Epic have expressed their support for Black Lives Ladder. Black Lives Ladder.
Black
Wow.
Lives Ladder.
Well, I'm going with it. While Valve has remained silent, therefore choosing the side of white supremacy. Which platform do you support now? Epic's
That's
Game Store
so.
or white supremacy? And the overwhelming majority is white supremacy.
I love. First of all, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
Second of all, I love posts like that where people just like push the agenda with the crazy conclusion. You know what I mean? It's like, well, Valve hasn't issued a statement, therefore they're all neo-Nazis. Gaben's
Right.
obviously wearing a swastika right now in his office because
Yeah.
no one said anything about BLM. Obviously, that's what's going. If you play Dota, you hate black people because Valve hasn't said anything.
Obviously.
Obviously. I can't
It's
wait
like,
for
what the
that
fuck?
to just be clipped alone and then be
Yeah,
attributed.
we're
somehow,
going to
whatever.
be our voice. This is how we become.
Oh yeah,
Thanks
thanks for
for
not
just
saying
coming for
anything.
us.
Yeah, thanks
He's
for not saying
deleting our
anything when I
Dota
said it.
accounts.
Yeah.
Oh, my non-existent Dota career.
That'll be the one line of dialogue that goes viral from our podcast. But the only thing we're known for is me saying that.
Hey,
If you play Dota, you hate black people. And that gets
there's
spread
no
around.
such
You're
It's
just
thing
funny.
as
making
bad
it
publicity.
easier.
That's my opinion.
Let me
I
allow me
know.
to just.
That's you. There's other people who would agree with you, but I don't know.
I'm also the Gamergate guy, so it's like I've already been condemned by the UN. It's like, what else can happen?
Yikes.
There's
And-
there's quite a few people who would disagree that there is no such thing as bad publicity.
Fair
I'm sure
enough.
the police would. I'm sure the police would disagree right now. This publicity is not good for them.
Allow me to. Allow
They
me to
should stop
say.
beating people, and maybe they won't get the publicity.
Oh boy. Let's
Yeah, we're gonna curve this in right
yeah,
now.
I'm curbing. It is actually, you know what? I have one last kind of reference to it.
Well, I got something I want to say
Brendan,
before we
Brendan,
get
are
off
you
this.
aware of MikeZ just fucking the pooch super hardcore?
No.
So MikeZ, the guy behind Skullgirls, was on a stream, and I have the clip actually. Hang on.
Uh-oh. Twitter 2 days ago. I fully apologize. I said something stupidly insensitive and I regret it. I'm excited.
That clip is majestic because he makes
Hold on, let me listen to this real-
okay.
Live commentary, folks.
Do
What
it
the
up.
fuck am I listening to?
I'll listen to it in just a
Did
second.
he just make a joke about it?
Yes.
He did. What a fucking
Just
guy.
look at the chat like, oof.
For me,
Hard
my
yikes.
favorite thing about it
Yeah.
my favorite thing about it is that, like, you could tell he doesn't have confidence for it because he starts, stops, and then finally commits to it to dead silence.
Yeah, I love the absolute awkward silence.
Complete
It's like 15 seconds long. of just nobody saying
destruction.
anything.
Oh, it's such
Good
a
job,
good
Mike
clip.
Z. You fucked up.
You done fucked up, son.
And I think you
Oh
were
god,
gonna
the
say.
chat explodes too.
Yep.
Oh god.
Very embarrassing.
Hey, I will say this before we get off this topic of conversation real quick, before we move on to the next news story.
Phew. Thank you.
These corporations are all companies, you know, and obviously they just want your money. And for the most part, it's like, as we just kind of said, not to beat the dead horse, it's like, but people are, if you don't think there's someone in the offices at Sony just being like, hey, maybe we should push back the fucking PS5 details announcement because we're not going to get quite as many eyes and ears on it as we would normally as a result of what's going on in the world right now. On the flip side, and here's the less cynical half of me, it's good that even if it's for their own selfish fucking reasons, that companies are telling you, hey, pay attention to what's going on right now, because it's kind of important, and I agree. And I don't think I'm just speaking for myself here on this podcast when I say that shit's fucking going a little nuts out there at the moment, and to some extent, it's very fucking warranted.
To an extent, correct.
And
I'm not saying go out and shoot cops. I am saying that something's got to be
Please,
done
for the love
about
of
cops.
God, don't go shoot cops.
I am saying
Obviously.
something's got to be done about cops going out and choking black people to death in the streets who are unarmed, and there's no reason for that. So even
Everyone
if
buy a gun.
Sony's doing it, even if Sony's doing it for their own selfish reasons, hey guys, at least to some extent, they're telling you to fucking wise up and pay attention to what the fuck's going on, because it's kind of fucked up. And that's all I gotta say about that.
Buy a gun. Next news bit.
Don't shoot cops. Don't do that though. Don't listen to
All right,
Anthony.
then.
Don't listen to Richie.
I did
pulling
not
his pants
say that. I
There
say
was
I
no-
didn't say shoot cops,
off. I'm joking.
but
I'm joking.
I mean, you know,
Protect yourselves.
Guilty Gear Strive had a nice little feedback piece. A lot of it is non-committal BS.
This was very interesting.
Yeah. But suffice it to say, they're aware of the problems, and honestly, I'm a little bummed that the actual gameplay was rated as high as it was. I'm glad it didn't hit like a 4. It's on a scale of like 0 to 5. Link in the description if you want to read their inputs. But yeah, people panned the network setup, of course. The UI,
The lobbies as
the
well.
lobbies.
The lobby system.
Yeah. And again, a lot of the answers were kind of like non-committal, like, "Oh, this is what we were trying to do with it, but we will take in your feedback." Like, not really saying anything. The only one that got a response, honestly, was the UI, where he explained why he did it that way, and then he was like, "But don't worry, I'm gonna make it rock," and which was just very, very fun. And the funnest part about it was the character poll, where everyone in the world except for Japan wants Baiken real bad, and
And
Japan
what's her face?
wants Bridget real bad.
Yeah,
No
that was
surprise.
hilarious. That was so fun.
They're also the only ones that got Order Soul in there, which is pretty nuts. Slayer's making the top 10, thank God, my boy.
I think the most interesting thing about that whole all those polls and
no
shit they
one
did.
cares about Sin. Continue. I care about Sin.
Sorry, I was pulled away from the podcast for a brief moment. I think the most interesting thing about it is like the OST was like I think one of the most highest rated things
Mhm.
in the poll, which makes sense. Even over gameplay, people were like, "Yeah, but the music's still good." And I think I think what's really kind of if you really read into their responses to the poll, I feel like it's a little telling, because they were basically like, yeah, we realize like the lobby system was the one that I found most interesting, because they were like, yes, we understand people don't like it, we understand that people think that the art style doesn't really fit with the rest of the game and like how Guilty Gear looks in motion, but we assure you it's designed like literally the response was basically, we assure you it's designed like that for a reason. There's just more features that aren't there yet that you'll see eventually, like for the lobbies, and that's all they said, which is basically an answer of we're not going to change it.
Yeah,
like
right,
the
yeah.
lobby's the way it is, fucko, get used to it. That's a nice way of saying if you wanted like even just the old lobbies back, you're not getting it, you're stuck with this pixel art shit. It's basically what they said.
Another thing about it that was kind of big was they broke down like their responses was like, "Oh, have you played Guilty Gear before? And what's your favorite fighting game?"
Yeah.
And a big majority played Guilty Gear before, and a narrow majority had Guilty Gear as their favorite fighting game. And by narrow majority, I mean like what my favorite fighting game is. It's like 40% said like Guilty Gear. So 60% didn't, but that 60% was split up into things like Street Fighter or whatever. So even my favorite fighting game technically was in the vast majority. And I hope they realize that they fucked up a little bit by looking at
This
those
is something
numbers.
you and me had a brief conversation about this, like over
Mhm.
Discord and text about this, and I'll just reiterate a point that I made in that conversation for the podcast recording. And it's like, this is something that like, and I know I bring him up a lot whenever we start talking about fighting games, but I watch a lot of like Maximilian and stuff, and I kind of value his opinions on stuff, and I agree with a lot of what he says on stuff like this. There are a lot of opinions that I hold as well, and something that he's said in the past, and I fully fucking agree with, is the idea of dumbing down these games, which dumbing down sounds really harsh and negative, but kind of like simplifying. Thank you. That's a better way of putting it. Simplifying it, making it a little more like giving it a little more casual appeal by making the mechanics not as complex and stuff. These developers are clearly doing this for two reasons. One is because like they want the game to be esports ready and watchable, and the other is they want to get more people into it. Like they want to sell copies, right? And I brought this up with you that it's like I feel like they're doing this because of, I think Dragon Ball was kind of the start where they realized how extremely well. First of all, you know what? Before I even get on that, let's start with this. That shit doesn't work. Like it's kind of been shown in the past that like even when you dumb down these games and simplify them, however you would prefer to describe it, it doesn't always succeed in bringing in new people. The people who are going to, especially a game like Guilty Gear that's very niche, it's got its own kind of like art style. It's not appealing visually to everyone. There's a lot, even though I think Guilty Gear is one of the nicest looking games out there since like Exerd, there are people out there who don't agree and would prefer to see something that's like goes for the photorealistic approach of like an NRS game and stuff like that. And so as a result, simplifying the gameplay will not have the result that you want. It's not going to flood you with new people buying the game who are not hardcore Guilty Gear fans, and your poll just proved that.
Yeah, the misconception,
it just proved it.
I think from them comes from they released two simplified games, the Dragon Ball Z Fighters and BlazBlue, I don't, however you pronounce it, Cross Tag Battle. Not realizing that,
which were very successful games, by the way.
Right, but it was successful not because of the simplification, but because it was Dragon Ball, and in Cross Tag's place, you're getting a sudden influx of Western audience from weird fucking shit like Ruby, which poisons my veins to say out loud. But
listen, I don't like Ruby. I think Ruby's a little it's a bit of a yikes. but I have to admit, I gotta say, if you're someone who works at Rooster Teeth and you worked on Ruby, it's gotta be kind of cool seeing your little internet series anime thing have a character on screen with someone from like Persona.
Except for Monte.
It's well, all right. That's dark. Little dark.
Oh, you can see it from wherever he's at.
Wherever he's at. So, rip.
Yes.
But yeah, that's kind of cool. Even though I hate Ruby, it is kind of neat.
But basically, what I'm saying is that it's like, it's not strictly the simplification. There were outside factors for these two games, and so then they bring that incorrect lesson learned to Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
And what they should not, I think in the actual thing was like, it was like only 5% didn't play Guilty Gear before, and what they gotta realize is that that 40% that said Guilty Gear is their favorite, they're jeopardizing for that 5% who has not played, and that is a huge goddamn disparity. Simplifying isn't necessarily bad, but the more niche and the more drastically you simplify, there's only a certain extent you could do that. Because I mean, me and Bran, we got in on Rev. And Zerd, not just Rev.
Yeah, not Rev.
And people say that simplified dog shit compared to like R+, and it might be. I don't know. I've never played Plus R or whatever. And it wasn't that I wasn't interested in it back then. It literally never came across like my peripheral. So I mean, we really like Zerd, and it's more simplified. So it's something that can work to get people in, but like,
but not when you're clearly,
there's a line,
not when you're,
and it's ill-defined.
not when you're clearly doing it to such an extent that you're
Right.
trying to warp the game into something that it really kind of wasn't before. Like now we're talking about a level of simplification where it's like, yeah, we want this to become more neutral oriented, less combo focused for the people who just aren't interested in that or might not stick around as long or consider buying a copy because they just don't want to learn that shit. And it's like, but look at your numbers now from the poll. Like, was this worth it? Because like the vast majority of people who took part in your fucking beta are people who were gonna buy the game even if you kept it the way it was before.
Yeah.
So like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, it doesn't even really matter. Another beautiful example of this, there's literally a game out right now that's been out for like 2 years or something like that. That's like one of the most successful recent fighting game launches of all time. It's got a huge following. It's super successful in the pro scene. It's sold a fuckload of copies, and it's very complicated. It's Tekken 7.
Yeah.
That game did not simplify itself at all. If you have fucking ancient knowledge from the days of playing Tekken 1, that shit still carries over to 7, and it's probably even more complex than it ever was before, and people bought that shit in droves.
Mm-hmm.
Very successful, including people who've never really had super duper like huge experience with Tekken in the past. I kind of count
Literally
myself
me.
amongst those people. Yeah. I've played Tekken before, but like as a fucking poo baby.
Yeah,
You know what I
when
mean?
you
And
didn't
probably
know
on
what
like
you
a
were doing.
rental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're just smashing buttons.
Back in the days of like PS1 game rentals and shit, maybe.
Yep.
But I bought Tekken 7 because the game looked sick, and it is sick, and I didn't regret it because the game's fucking awesome. It's super fun to play. I kind of wish I played it more, to be honest. I just got kind of pulled away from it. But like, that's a beautiful example of a game that's in the public consciousness right now in the FGC, is super successful, and did not like make any concessions for the
Right, yeah.
casual crowd. And now here's Arxis doing the exact opposite because they think that what they did with Dragon Ball was indicative of what they should do in the future in order to sell more copies. Like, it's a misunderstood fucking thing that I don't know if that's what it is. Like, that's obviously all just spitballing and tinfoil hatting. Like, is it because Dragon Ball was super successful and it's not that complicated? So they're like, oh, well, let's just do that with Guilty Gear? Or have they seen other games like Sam Show and SF5 and been like, oh, and MK11, and they were like, maybe we should get in on that?
Yeah,
Who
MK11
knows?
is kind of like the reverse, but it also isn't, where it's a simplified X and it is more successful, but it's also aping NRS's other series that, you get cross-pollination from your different games, kind of. So
Yeah, it's also a Mortal Kombat game. Like, people will buy that shit regardless of what they do. Like, MK has a massive casual fucking fan base.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, those games are successful. They could literally like shit in the box and call it MK12.
They
and
did
people
it
will
for
probably...
years.
They did. And people bought that shit by the millions.
Yep. That's what.
So
It could be argued that it kept fighting games alive during the dark times.
yeah,
I like
yeah.
it called the dark times.
I recall the best
there were
friends
some-
conversations about.
Yeah, the transition to 3D was not a smooth one. And then Guilty Gear decided to make a MOBA before MOBAs were a thing, and it didn't go well.
It was really weird.
Yeah.
And all sorts of other crazy shit happened.
But anyway, the point is, like, Mortal Kombat's not a super fair comparison, but it's like, I don't know what it is, and I don't think we'll ever know why Arxis decided to take this route with Strive.
Mhm.
It just seems like they did it for the wrong reasons. Like, it's obvious to me that like these developers are doing this to try to get more people to buy the game and to try to get it to be understandable to the layman who doesn't play fighting games when they're watching it on like Evo main stage. You know?
I honestly think some people putting expectations, and maybe this is me reading into what they've said, but like into the Riot fighting game and what it will mean for fighting games. And I don't
Who gives a fuck?
I
don't think
that
people
they're correct. Like I think
people are like, it's gonna be cataclysmic. It's gonna be insane for the FGC, and it's like, it's gonna be another fighting game. It might be okay. I
Yeah.
don't think it's gonna be like it could be great.
even if it is super simple, like I just think, it's when I introduce FPS games to people who have not played video games, and you see them do that thing, especially if it's a console shooter. Let's pretend it's a console shooter, where they only move one analog stick at a time.
Yeah.
And it's just because they're not used to it. So you could simplify the game to hell and back when you put it in the hands of someone who doesn't play fighting games versus a person who has never played that fighting game but has played fighting games. They're going to kick the shit out of them.
I think the reason why people are putting so much stock into the League fighting game though is because, like, I've heard people talk about it like this, where it's like, oh, it's going to be like Riot's making this. League is like one of the most successful games out there, right?
Mhm.
I think there are people who have this extremely unrealistic expectation for that fighting game where they're like, oh, well, because it's a Riot game and because League's fan base is so huge and because the fighting game is being developed for like keyboard accessibility, that obviously the League community is just going to move over and they're just going to play that fighting game and it's going to be one of the most successful fucking fighting games of all time. It's like, I don't think that's going to be the case. I've heard people say that who have that opinion. And it's like, I don't know about that, dude. Like the MOBA community and the fighting game community are two very different communities. Not that there isn't overlap. I mean, I am a living example of that, but it's like they're not just because it's made by Riot, it's not suddenly going to become the next Mortal Kombat franchise overnight because it's like catering to people who can play it on keyboards.
Not to cut you short, but we got to get motoring.
Fuck the motoring.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about two news stories only.
So the next bit of news, everything else is pretty quick. Like, honestly, not a terrible amount of news came out this past week. For some reason, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and
The world's burning. Everyone, hide your wife, hide your kids.
The next thing is Sega. So that big tease was released, and Sega released its big world-changing thing, and very few people care. And then they also made a profoundly retarded decision. So I made a joke that N-Gage 2 was going to happen, which was dumb because N-Gage was even Sega, but luckily no one caught that. And they took it to heart. Sega somehow heard me, and within a development cycle of a few days, did not make the N-Gage 2 or even the Sega Game Gear 2, but instead made the Sega Game Gear Mini, which is so goddamn tiny. They are selling a peripheral that is a magnifying glass for the screen, just like the old Game Boy.
What?
I posted it in the Discord. That wasn't
Are
a
you
joke.
serious?
Real?
Yeah. Because it
I-
could literally fit in the palm of your hand. So you, like, the entire handheld fits in the palm of your hand. So think of how big the screen is. That's like a 1.5 inch, maybe 2 inch screen to play all your video games on. The extra levels of retardation come in with the fact that to make the board so goddamn small, they sacrifice storage. So you buy that, and I mean, there's been a lot of like classic and micro consoles released. Usually you get like some of the best of the libraries. The Game Gear Micro has 4 games on it, but that's okay because they're releasing it in a bunch of different colors, and each color has 4 different games.
Wow.
And that each sells for $50 each, which means to get the entire collection, you have to spend $300, not including the magnifying glasses you need for the screen.
What is it, 4 of them? How many of these things are there?
There's a lot. There's I'm not sure how many. I
only see 4 on this article that I'm reading right now, but maybe there's more.
Yeah, because the 50 times 4, that wouldn't be.
That's horrendous, but it's basically just Sega trying to get in on that nostalgia console shit that was going on a little while
in
back.
The most inept way possible.
Yeah, it's not great. It's definitely not great. But it's basically just them coming in late to the party of Nintendo being like, wasn't it Nintendo that put out the fucking
They did
NES
release
Mini
a Genesis Mini, and I've had hands on that, and it's pretty good. It's got things like Vector Man and Streets of Rage and stuff on it. Worth it.
Well, like I said, that's just them continuing this trend of cashing in on people's nostalgia,
So the
selling
actual
ancient
news,
shit.
the actual news is that they released this new kind of game
Virtual Fighter.
distribution platform referred to as Fog Gaming.
We
Fog-
haven't released that yet, right? Isn't this just like rumor and
Yeah,
leak?
I think they're setting up the infrastructure, and it's going to be coming out to Japan. It may never come across the pond because of its primary use, but I'm about to get into that. So essentially, what it is
Hentai.
yeah, it's cloud gaming. So it's kind of like your Google Stadia concept, but done in a slightly smarter way, where the way that these things work is you have the server in who the hell knows, and it has the games on it, it runs the games locally, and then it streams that data to you, and your box side doesn't really do anything. All it's really sending is the inputs back, and that's it. So what this fog gaming is that you still have the cloud server, but it is full of non-essential information, probably things like logins and the generic information that doesn't get pinged a lot. Whereas in your building, you have your own kind of server, and then that is streaming to whatever your devices are, TV monitors, could even be phones, whatever. So the distance and bandwidth is significantly higher to the local devices and the hardest hit kind of things, which should make it a lot more palatable, a lot less input lag. And the primary use for it and why it could actually be a good idea is that it's primarily going to show up in Sega has a lot of arcades. And so now instead of each machine being its own board, they're boxes that are just getting streamed too. So like all of that upkeep, you get to just strike away from your bottom line because you only have the one server that's actually running everything, and it's really easy to get a powerful machine to run multiple versions of these pretty damn simple games for the most part. And also it helps that, Japan has the infrastructure in their cities where the arcades are, that whatever input latency that will exist between the fog server and the actual, remote location, the cloud server, will be fast because it'll be like city internet speeds. Which I don't know. I don't know how Tokyo, well, not just Tokyo, but Japan, how good their internet infrastructure is, but I imagine it'll be good. So it's a neat idea. It'll cut down overhead for basically every arcade. Probably never ever come west because arcades aren't really a thing here. But I could see another company kind of getting their version of it going. Try to like Google Stadia 2, this time it works edition.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing I found most interesting about this is that it's yet another company attempting to kind of get into the cloud gaming space in any way, shape, or form. And just from reading like the stuff that you shared to us, which I skimmed through pretty quickly, I mean they seem to be saying that it's, I don't know, the way it's worded, it seems like maybe it's more powerful than Stadia and won't run like trash garbage.
Well, again, this is all theoretical. What was that one?
Yeah, it's.
What was that one that was like we're using tachyons, so it's faster than light, and that was bullshit?
What the fuck are you talking?
Hang on a second.
So it's like some audio crystals shit.
Oh, it was. It was bullshit. It was like again, it was the same as Stadia's negative latency, where it's like that's not how that works.
God, there was a. It's funny that we're on this topic just real quick, but I remember I read an article recently. I don't know why. I don't think I put it in the Camels thing, but it was someone from Google coming out and being like, "Yeah, we may have oversold what Stadia was capable of." Like at some point this past week, someone from Google actually came out and said that, and it's like, not a shocker. Like everyone knew you were talking shit. And then it came out and it runs like garbage. I just don't get the whole cloud gaming thing, but maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Elite Dangerous teases its new thing.
You can use your legs now, I guess.
Yeah, on foot segments.
Kind
Really,
of cool.
it's called Elite Dangerous Odyssey. It was just announced. No idea really when it's going to be coming out. But good lord, Star Citizen fans are probably salty.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine if a Star Citizen fan was on this podcast right now to talk to us about it, they'd be like, "But it's not the same thing, bro."
Yeah, the thing that
Not.
I've been reading, and of course it could be like, not to put a phrase that has so much weight to it as false flag on something about dumbass video games, but a person was like, yeah, you could walk out and you have a rifle, you'll probably shoot stuff, but you won't be like physically picking up cargo and loading your ship like Star Citizen, so what's the point? And again, I feel like that might be bullshit, but I also believe that people are that crazy.
Anthony, anyone who's like sunk any amount of money into Star Citizen right now has to defend it. You've got to defend it. You've got to defend it, bro. It's good. You didn't waste your money. It's coming any day now.
But seriously, if fucking Elite Dangerous gets on foot segment before fucking Star Citizen does,
Well, Star Citizen
that's
has
incredibly embarrassing.
Star Citizen has on foot segments though. They're just not particularly well implemented. I've
Right,
seen
and
videos
they're
of people playing
separate.
it where they go to a planet and they land on the planet and then they walk into a base and they shoot
Right.
a bunch of dudes in the base, but it looks jank as fuck and like you can tell that it's clearly like kind of placeholder.
Is that part of the alpha though? Is that like a segment they launched, or has there only been like gameplay trailers of it?
No, that's like I think that's in the game right now. You take
Okay.
off in your ship, you can go to like a planet. I think you can land on the planet. There's like little bounty hunting missions you do where you get out of your ship and you will like assault a base with other people. There's like turrets you got to destroy before you can get in. But like I said, it's all clearly very like kind of jank and early in its implementation, even though the game's been a thing for years.
The other thing is supposedly there'll be outposts and base building as part of it.
Star Citizen fans on Suicide Watch, bro.
Yeah. Because that I know that is a complaint about Elite Dangerous, where it's like, yeah, you can land on a planet and there's like some tasks and mining to do, but they're mostly like barren deserts. So having it so that people can make these bases and kind of populate the universe that they've generated could be fucking cool, or it could be very poorly implemented.
It could be, yeah. I mean, trust me, I'm not like as funny as I think everything about Star Citizen kind of is. I'm not like dick riding this. I don't think it's like going to be amazing that Elite Dangerous is doing this, but it could be cool.
What is that German term where it's like you like seeing other people suffer, like comeuppance? Freudenschir or some whatever. I don't speak German.
Freudenchappy.
Yeah, whatever. That's the only reason I want this to be successful is just so I could watch Star Citizen backers suffer. Like I do not own Elite Dangerous. I probably wouldn't even get it if this comes out. I just want to see the internet fights. That's it. That's all I want.
Star Citizen fans, I hope your game comes out one day. I truly do. I don't think it's going to come out.
I hope you're not scammed. I honestly don't want you to have
especially if
wasted
you're one of
that
the people. Yeah, especially if you're one of the people who spent like thousands of dollars on digital ships and stuff like that.
Right.
Before the game even came out. I hope you get your game. Oh boy.
Next news thing. Cabal Space Program 2 developers horribly murdered in the back room like Old Yeller.
What?
So what? Not literally. Okay.
Okay, I was like, what?
So here's the thing.
whoa.
So essentially, what happens is Take Two buys the devs, and they're working on Cabal Space Program 2, and then they like the contract comes up, and they don't renew it, and the developers have a huge panic because they technically Take-Two still owns the IP. Well, no, not technically, like legitimately they still own the IP. They just didn't hire them to develop it. And then they look around the office and they realize half of their talent is gone because they were hired by Take-Two. Take-Two like emailed some of the employees of this development studio and were like, yeah, we're not gonna back it up, so work with us instead and continue to work on this game. And so that development studio is just dead. But KSP is still being worked on by half the people
Wow.
who were working on it.
That's evil.
Yeah.
Like Ooh, that's like some Zenimax level shit.
Yeah.
Like hostile takeover stuff. That's rough.
It's a very brutal news piece.
Gross. That's real gross. That's like I don't remember what it was we were talking about last week. Where I was like, it's not. I can't for the life of me remember what we were talking about. But I think I said something like, it's not that often that I hear something in the games industry nowadays where I'm just like, wow, that's legitimately disgusting. This is one of them. That's fucking gross, dude.
Seedy business. Video games. Children's toys. People are fucking. Their lives are ruined over children's toys.
That's so hard. Thanks, dog.
Next bit of news. Kojima gave an interview, and
Oh yeah, this is interesting.
there was a very minor piece on it, honestly, because it was more like just a general kind of interview about what he is, and he
Basically, like,
mentions...
wasn't it just like it was just like 3 questions, wasn't it? I think I read the
that
article.
was it. And the important things is that he mentions that Death Stranding somehow broke even, which I can't even believe. I suspect it might be development costs and not marketing costs. You know, that old chestnut. But it's in the black, so it was arguably a success. That said, he pitched another game and it got rejected. So capitalism is reigning in Kojima's Kojima-ness.
I see, but there's a lot of different ways you can take that.
Mhm.
Because we've been hearing a lot of stuff recently in the rumor mill about Kojima
howdy, have
Productions
we.
and
Yeah.
stuff that he may or may not be working on, and then Konami comes out and goes, "Hey man, those rumors everyone's talking about, they're not real." And it's like, I wonder what got rejected. Do you think it was Kojima himself who tried to get the ball rolling on a Silent Hills?
It
And
could
it just
be. There was
didn't
that
work out?
fucking pencil shit that happened.
Yeah, I'm thinking that might have been, honestly, when you linked that article and I read it, my first thought was maybe that's what happened.
Mm.
Maybe what actually happened was what none of us probably would have guessed, and he's the one who like approached someone at Sony and said, "Hey, maybe we can like work something out with Konami and actually do this Silent Hills thing." Maybe it was him and not the other way around, and then for whatever reason it got shut down, which is actually insane to think that would be the case.
Hey, they
if
did
that is
it
what
once.
happened.
They did it once already.
They did. And then Sony calls up someone at Konami, and then Konami's like, "Well, I didn't hear pachinko in that sentence," and they just fucking hang up the phone and fucking punt it out the window into the
Literally
streets.
rip it out the wall.
Yeah. Gall on these fucks to not call us about pachinko, and then they fucking just big boot that shit right out the fucking window.
And it happens to land on the heads of the devs behind the was it three days to die, whatever that game
Dead
is.
by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight. It lands on
There you
their
go.
head, and they're like, "Hey, don't throw shit at us. We're gonna sue you." And then they'll be like, we'll give you Pyramid Head," and that's how that worked.
Yeah, that's it. That's the story.
Basically.
Yeah.
Very interesting story. The most interesting part about it's obviously the fact that whatever he wanted to do next got rejected. So you can take that in any number of ways.
We don't know what was next, though. We don't know what actually got
Correct.
rejected.
Yes, we have no idea.
True.
Yeah, we don't know because he didn't say. But that's why it's all fucking tinfoil hatch. I like to think it's the Silent Hill stuff because the guy who leaked that stuff about Silent Hill is a very reputable guy. He's leaked stuff successfully in the past. So I don't think, honestly, that any of those Silent Hills leaks and rumors were wrong. I just think something happened or they got like misinterpreted. Maybe this is it.
Right.
Maybe he pitched some Silent Hill shit and it just got shot down. But we'll never know. So
Yep. Still looking forward to Kojima's next game, probably.
Hey, I don't know what you want to roll into next, but real quick. Do you have the Bloodborne shit on your news list or no?
Oh, gee. Well, I don't know. It keeps going back and forth, so I didn't put it on it, but I'm aware
All right,
of it.
well,
I can talk
we'll
about
do
it.
it 'cause it's like it's a real quick story, but
go ahead.
someone else came out we've talked about Bloodborne on PC rumors before on this podcast. I think maybe last week or the week before that. I don't remember.
Yes.
But someone else came out in this last week and has kind of backed up the rumors and leaks. Supposedly, those first ones were horseshit. Like, people went back and figured out that those very first rumors were not true. But now someone else has come out somewhere and is supposedly reputable because he posted it on some forum where people have done some research, and the people who moderate this forum typically do not allow horseshit rumors to be posted on it if there's no backing for it. So the guy posted it, and then a mod jumped into the thread and was like, "We've talked to the guy. We're gonna let this thread stay." So now everyone's going nuts because it seems like it's happening. And Bloodborne may very well be coming to PC, possibly sooner rather than later. Apparently, another part of the leak was that the guy said, if you're a FromSoft fan, the next 2 years are going to be insane, is what he said almost word for word. I don't know what that means.
When I heard that, I actually have read that rumor. That immediately activated my
Armored Core?
Yep, it activated my Armored Core boner because he didn't say Souls fans.
No, he said FromSoft.
He said FromSoft. And if Bloodborne's coming over, what else is FromSoft related that isn't Souls and isn't Bloodborne?
Armored Core? That's pretty much it.
Armored goddamn Core.
Armored Core or Demon Souls?
That or Demon Souls. Yeah, Demon
Souls remake of some kind.
Yeah. God, they
or
would have
sequel.
me. They would have me by the fucking balls. Either way.
I would love it if Bloodborne comes out on PC. I know this is never going to happen, but I would love it if Bloodborne comes out on PC and then it takes like the Demon Souls route and is suddenly no longer PlayStation exclusive, and we actually get like Bloodborne 2 on PC if that gets announced, which I'm almost guaranteeing that it will at some point because it's basically free money. I would love it if that happened. It's not gonna happen. They'll probably put Bloodborne out on PC as like pseudo promotion for Bloodborne 2 to try to like get some more PlayStations in people's hands to play the sequel. But I can dream. Also, if it comes out on PC, I get to experience it at frame rates of above 25 frames per second, which is what people experienced on like PS4. I get to experience it at like 60. That's awesome. Put it out on PC.
Oh, also load times before that patch.
Oh my god, the fucking old. I remember that.
Yeah,
of
that
watching
was brutal.
LP that shit, and it was just like 15 minutes of this video are just load times. Just constant loading.
Because you die a lot, and for whatever reason, however that game was set up, like, and it was set up in a way that they were able to patch it too, which is extra mysterious. But I don't know, whatever.
All that fucking hubbub about, not to drone on about this, but like the memory leak issues too. Do you remember that shit?
Yes.
How like if you played Bloodborne and you left it on for like too many hours and then you fought certain bosses, they would actually just cease attacking or doing anything because the game had like a horrendous memory leak issue.
Yeah, the AI would just literally shatter. Anyway, EA, I guess we'll just lightning round this as quick as we can. EA is on Steam. You still need Origin for like half of them, but hopefully they fucking murder Origin. The only thing that's super interesting about it is EA has a stupid Game Pass that every company has now, and the Game Pass works on Steam. So any free,
that's cool.
Any free Game Pass games that's come up, you could just download on Steam. You don't need.
That's actually pretty cool. That's not gonna make you get fucking EA Game Pass, but that's pretty sick. I will say that the day they put all that EA shit on Steam, or they announced that they were doing it, they also put a bunch of shit on sale, and I instantly picked up like Mirror's Edge and the new Mirror's Edge game as well, which I'm actually looking forward to playing both of those.
Yep.
So good on you.
Let's hope that they full on kill Origin, and then they put Titanfall on Steam.
Oh god, that would be great.
Yep.
Supposedly Apex is coming to Steam at some point. That was part of this whole deal with Valve. We don't know when that's happening, but they announced it like months ago.
I was gonna say, I wonder if that would like revitalize the Titanfall 2 player base,
I don't
make
know.
people play.
I would get on it immediately.
I would consider getting it.
There's people still playing Titanfall 2 right now. I mean, shit.
Yeah, but if it came to Steam, I don't know. I feel like that would just like maybe get more people on board.
I would hope there's crossplay
Which-
between like the
Which
Ords
this
and
goes
Revulsion.
into the next thing we're going to talk about, as I feel like there's going to be no one playing the next game because of the platform it's on.
Yep. Total War Troy announced Epic Game Store exclusive, free for the first 24 hours that it's out. If you have EGS,
Getting it.
you just have it.
Yep, but I won't be getting it.
I'll get it. We've had
Really?
this
You won't
conversation.
have a
I'm gonna get it.
free game?
It's literally free.
No, I won't have. I won't download Epic Store.
Oh, nice. I didn't know that
Play
you
all
were on that train.
motherfuckers and your boycotts of installing a fucking 2 megabyte launcher on your.
Hell yeah. I
You're
don't
all a
have
bunch of
any.
fucking weirdos.
All I have is Steam.
No offense, you're just all a bunch of weirdos. That's all.
I'm
Why am I a
willing to
weirdo?
accept that.
No, not you. You haven't said anything yet on the matter. But these two, definitely weirdos. All I'm saying is the game's free. I'm gonna get it. I already have Epic because I used to play Futnut, and I fucking bought Outer Worlds when it came out on launch. So I have an account, and it's a free game. And
What accounting wizardry CA Epic came up with to like make the game free? All I know is I am not getting it because I am not getting the Epic Game Store, which they want people to get so badly. So I mean,
I
whatever.
could tell you the accounting magic. It was a fat stack of cash.
yeah, big check.
From Borderlands and other big games.
I don't know which way
Just
the
a fat
check
stack
went.
of cash because now maybe it's because it's a saga and it's not like a full Total War game. But Total War games, at least the main ones, usually have lots of DLC tied behind them. I don't think Epic can like keep up. Like there's not enough demand of the Epic Game Store to really warrant that. So
they have
maybe
Do they have a cart yet? Because if not, putting DLC in a cart is going to be very hard.
I don't
Listen,
know.
there-
That's a really good question.
there's two things that are very weird to me with this. One again is that DLC thing. I don't get how Epic is how the DLC is going to sell in the Epic Game Store because not everyone likes the Epic Game Store. And two, it's a Total War game that's going to have zero mod support because there's no mod support in the Epic Game
that's
Store.
true. I didn't
Like,
even think about
The mod
that.
support. The mod support thing is the bigger issue. I don't think the DLC thing's really. I think that's a complete non-issue, to be honest. They just list the DLC, and if anyone has the copy of it on Epic, they buy it. Like, it doesn't cost them anything to list the fucking DLC on
But
this.
but like no one's going to be buying it because no
Well, who
one's
cares?
getting the
Whatever,
Epic
they-
Game Store.
Yeah, but if anything, it's like, oh, hey, how many people do you think are going to download that thing for free on August 13th? It might not be a lot of people, but people are going to do it. And then if they do put DLC out for the game, guess what? There's people who have the game for free that aren't going to buy it twice on Steam. Maybe Epic gets some money.
Like,
from
are they
people
just
buying
selling the
DLC.
game and DLC to the content creators and like the little bit of people who have Epic Game Store? I don't know. It's just a weird move.
You realize there's a lot of people with Epic Game Store installed, right? Like a lot. You know how many people play Fortnite, Richie?
Answer is a lot.
There's a lot of people.
No, the people I know who are playing Fortnite are not going to sit down and play a Total War game because they're all children, Brandon. They're all
What about me?
13-year-olds.
You're talking to me, Richie. I played
And-
Fortnite.
yeah,
I'm
you
literally
played
staring
this.
at. I'm literally staring at Epic Game Store in my taskbar right now, right next to my Valorant launcher, and then my Steam launcher next to that. On August 13th, I'll just fucking click my Epic Game Store. I'll fucking download that shit. And there's other people who are gonna do that, and they might give Epic money for the fucking DLC.
You know what?
Might happen.
One interesting
It's
rumor
free money.
related to that I've heard, is that I hear that because of all these exclusivity deals, the free stuff a lot of people ping on, but most of the exclusive games, like the sales for the money, I'm basing this on just rumors that I've heard, is not really profitable for EGS. So this could be a smart transition where it's like you're still giving a free game away, but a free game away that thrives, or at least a genre that thrives on its DLC. So it really
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's like games as a service, you know, it doesn't matter if you get the base free. If we start shitting out a bunch of DLCs and you buy the DLCs, well, then there you go.
How many DLCs do the Saga games get on average? Do they get
I
the
have no
same
idea.
metric fuck ton that the
Probably
base game?
not.
Probably not. But
I'll
it's
look
it's
right
an
now.
idea. Again, it's an idea based on knowledge that I have seen that could be outright lies. I don't know this.
Thrones of
All right, Thrones of Britannia,
Thrones of
has
Britannia
one
only has
DLC.
one. So
All right,
take that as you will.
let's knock these last boys out of here.
It just seems strange to me. I think it's a weird move, and I was probably gonna get Troy, and now I'm not getting Troy. So
Well, you can get it. You just have to wait.
That's true. Paradox signs deal with labor unions in Sweden, I believe I read. I don't actually know anything about this story beyond
Yeah,
that.
they're basically. I mean, the story's not super complicated. They basically have essentially a push for unionization, which is something that a lot of people, once again, not in the U.S., obviously, but it's kind of interesting. Like, this is something I've heard like Jim Sterling rail on about for countless videos about how like unions should be a thing in the game dev industry. Whenever you hear a story about maybe like the Kerbal Space Program story that we
Hey, yeah.
people getting absolutely fucked over for no reason. And then you have people like Jim Sterling being like, well, unionize fuckers. And it's just, I thought it was kind of an interesting story that Paradox is basically pushing for it and kind of starting to form something that looks very much like a union for game devs. Who knows what's going to come of that? Really not a lot to talk about, but it's interesting.
And then Richie, this is your story. Kingdom Under Fire Heroes.
yeah, very short story, but get hype. What was it? It was like, hold on.
Up.
What was it? May 31st? Was that like it was a week ago? A week ago today, actually.
Neat.
That the news came out. I saw it on Steam. That the news is just Kingdom Under Fire Heroes is coming soon in big caps.
Nice.
Like, people are speculating this summer, I guess.
Nice.
Like in the next month or so. And get hype. What I said I wanted, like whatever, how many weeks ago when we talked about Crusaders, is happening, and I'm super excited, and I'm gonna get that shit. And
Maybe one.
I can't wait to see how nostalgia hits me on that one, because I actually didn't play that one a lot, but I don't really remember it, and I'm excited to like remember it, you know, again, and see if it's better and or worse than the first one.
Kingdoms of Goddamn Amalur is getting an HD re-release with like a fucking like
Amalur?
collector's edition too, with like a PVC figure. Like they're
What?
pulling out all the stops for this
Wow.
franchise that never even lived, so it couldn't have died. And for those of you who don't know, here's the quick rundown to Kingdoms of Amalur. A sportsman wants to make a video game. He agrees under Rhode Island. The great state of Rhode Island has, you know, and many states actually have this kind of like art support program where you know, it's like they pay artists and commission artists for whatever. And he goes with that, and video games are art, so he secures funding. He then wastes a whole lot of time and money. He gets like literally the best names in the business to do everything besides the video game. Like, you got art by the guy who made the original code, and you've got story by the dude who came up with Drizzt. Like, serious shit. And then
Salvatore, Todd McFarlane, big names.
yeah. And then the actual game releases, and it's kind of like a single player MMO. It's kind of shitty. It's not super bad.
I've heard
that
I've heard
bad.
it's good.
The game I played Kingdoms of Amalur. It was actually pretty decent.
I had heard people. I've never been hands on with it, unlike you, but I've heard people say that it was pretty good. From what I understand, better than you would expect. Not like amazing, but
oh yeah, it wasn't like the greatest fucking thing to happen. I'm not even going to say it was like great, normal, but it was a decent game. It was okay, and I enjoyed it.
And turns out all that like pre-development stuff, not so much the game. The game was kind of cheap. Supposedly it actually did sell a good number. It's just hiring all that talent bankrupt the studio and practically the state of Rhode Island. So for the longest time, Rhode Island was just sitting on this IP, and then finally these devs bought it and are re-releasing it. I guess they really saw something in there. This has Passion Project written all over it, from maybe Vanity Project turned into Passion Project. So
Well, who owns it now? Is it not Microsoft themselves? Is it someone else?
let me see.
Who owns it?
THQ Nordic, so now we know at least one of those supposedly 128 games.
Oh yeah, it's kind of
First one
insane.
was Kingdom of
I
Amalur.
didn't know anyone was still thinking about this, but why not? It's probably pretty cheap, honestly, to do whatever they're doing for the remaster, and then they just make a quick buck, and then maybe they get it back in the public consciousness, and then they fucking make a sequel at some point. Who knows, dude?
Yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a thing.
We didn't talk about Trackmania.
I'll just do that real quick because it's funny. It's another one of those I like laughing at Ubisoft being retarded. So Trackmania has a controversial, I don't even know how what you would talk purchasing system. Is
It's strange.
Is the game is free, but then there's like a $10 a year service where you can play it online, or you get a track creator or something like that. Yeah, then you can play online, but for like $30 a year or $60 for 3 years, you get like the tournament edition, which barely does anything.
It lets you play like in special league races, and it gives you like more like DLC shit that they're gonna add in as the game goes on.
For esports. It's very bizarre. But the most hilarious thing is that it's a subscription service. You're paying either $10 a year or $30 a year or 60 for 3 years. But they're vehement where it's like Ubisoft is like it's subscription based, but that's not the point. It's not the subscription. It was just outrageously insane.
They're defending it. They're defending it. I read an article like today about it, where apparently Ubisoft is defending it by basically being like, listen, sometimes people pay full price for a game, they spend $60 and they don't even play it for a year. We're letting you choose. If you want to play it for a year, you can put in your fucking $30 or $40 price point or whatever the fuck, and then you get all the content for a year, and then you pay again and you get it for another year, and however long you want to play it for, that's how much we'll charge you. And it's like, people are like, but why can't I just spend like the basic 60 and just be able to play it for like the rest of my life without you having to charge me for every fucking year of my life that I want to turn this game on and play it? Like, it's a little fucked up, but hey, it's Ubisoft, you know. They're kind of Ubisoft sort of like slowly over the years been joining that trash fire like evil group of publishers / developers with like EA and 2K and shit like that.
I think they've been in that for a while. It's just that they were never as successful. So you don't feel the impact on the industry.
I don't know about that, dude. They got the fucking Assassin's Creed and the Ghost Recons and the Splinter Cells and the Far Cries. Like, Ubisoft's pretty up there, you know?
I guess so. It's true.
It's just now where they're starting to get into that like horrendous monetization kind of scheme level of these other companies.
Yeah, so. And that's the news now, for real.
Hell yeah!
News.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, fuck you. You suck my
we need
ass.
positive energy. Thank you.
fucking
You're all wonderful
Thank
people.
you.
You suck
thank
my
you.
fuck.
You're a
Don't
wonderful
suck
trash
his
fire.
fuck. Don't suck his fuck.
You suck my fuck.
You suck as fuck, but it turns out it's delicious and you loved it and you had a great time. Just like listening to this podcast. It's terrible.
Fuck you.
Terrible, but you do it anyway.
All right. That's a great way to end that.
If you play Dota, you hate black people.